Tonight on Skyline News Time, Atiku Tinubu clash over petrol subsidy. In business, Nigeria's exports rise to $15.5 billion. On the foreign scene, U.S. threatens tough sanctions on Iran. In entertainment, Davido Wike clash over Osun politics. In sports, NFF Sports Commission face Senate questions. Very good evening to you from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. I'm Muyi Agmofwegbe. We sincerely apologize for bringing news time behind schedule, and we do not take your understanding for granted. Let's begin by telling you tonight that former Vice President Atiku Abubakar and President Bola Tinubu are divided over the future of petrol subsidy, with both political leaders offering different approaches to addressing the impact of fuel prices on Nigerians. The disagreement comes amid continuing concerns over the cost of living and the effect of petrol prices on households, businesses, and transportation across the country. Mohammed Musa has more.
Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has renewed his criticism of the federal government's handling of petrol subsidy, proposing a different approach that he says could reduce the burden of fuel prices on Nigerians without returning the country to the old subsidy regime. Atiku argues that government should introduce targeted measures that directly protect vulnerable households while allowing the market to function. The former vice president's position comes more than 3 years after President Bola Tinubu announced the removal of petrol subsidy shortly after assuming office. The policy led to a sharp increase in petrol prices and triggered a rise in transportation and living costs. Although the Tinubu administration has consistently defended the reform as necessary to reduce pressure on government finances and redirect funds to other areas of the economy, President Tinubu has repeatedly maintained that returning to the old subsidy system will be a step backwards. The administration says the previous arrangement consumed huge public resources and created opportunities for corruption and inefficiency, while arguing that the saving from subsidy removal can be invested in infrastructure, social programs, and economic development. The disagreement is also taking a political dimension as Nigeria approaches the 2027 general election, with the economy, fuel prices, inflation, and the cost of living expected to remain major campaign issues. The contrasting opposition of Tinubu and Atiku could become part of the wider debate over which economic policies should shape Nigeria's future. I am Muhammad Musa for Skyline News.
President Bola Tinubu has urged re-elected Osun State Governor Ademola Adeleke to embrace reconciliation, unity, and peace as he begins his second term in office. The president made the call during a meeting with Adeleke at the presidential villa in Abuja, where the governor presented his certificate of return following his victory in the August 15 governorship election. Again, Mohammed Musa completes this report.
President Bola Tinubu made the call when Governor Ademola Adeleke visited him at the presidential villa in Abuja to present his certificate of return following his victory in the August 15 governorship election. The president congratulated Adeleke on his victory and stressed the importance of magnanimity in victory, urging him to reach out to those who supported other political parties during the election. Tinubu said elections should not be viewed as a conquest over political opponents, but as an opportunity for leaders to serve the entire population. He urged Adeleke to put political differences aside and concentrate on governance, development, and improving the lives of residents across Osun State. The meeting comes amid renewed political discussions following Adeleke's victory over the APC candidate Bola Oyebamiji. The governor has also called on residents and political stakeholders to put the election behind them, heal divisions, and work together for the development of the state. Adeleke's victory has also intensified conversations around political alliances ahead of the 2027 general elections. I am Muhammad Musa for Skyline News.
Meanwhile, Osun State Governor Ademola Adeleke has visited FCT Minister Nyesom Wike in Abuja shortly after meeting President Bola Tinubu at the presidential villa. The visit forms part of the governor's high-profile political engagements following his re-election in the August 15 Osun governorship election. Oyiza Deneka now joins us with details.
Governor Ademola Adeleke's visit to FCT Minister Nyesom Wike comes as the Osun governor continues a series of high-profile political engagements in Abuja following his re-election. Adeleke was pictured with Wike during the meeting, with both men seen holding the governor's certificate of return issued after the August 15 governorship election. The meeting has attracted political attention because of the changing political relationships and realignments taking place ahead of the 2027 general election. Wike, a prominent figure in Nigeria politics, has maintained relationship across political divides, while Adeleke's victory has further increased interest in his political calculations ahead of the next election cycle. The visit came shortly after Adeleke met President Bola Tinubu at the presidential villa, where he formally presented his certificate of return. Tinubu used the occasion to advise the governor to promote reconciliation and unity in Osun State. Adeleke's Abuja engagements are expected to continue generating political discussions as parties and politicians position themselves for 2027 contest. I am Danica Oiza for Skyline News.
The 2027 political realignment is gathering momentum as PDP figures and Ekiti State Governor Abiodun Oyebamiji reported to have joined efforts supporting President Bola Tinubu's re-election campaign. The development comes as politicians across party lines intensify consultations and high positioning themselves ahead of the 2027 general election. Skyline's Mohammed Idris. Musa has more.
Political calculations ahead of the 2027 presidential election are gathering momentum, with politicians from different political backgrounds beginning to declare their positions and strengthen alliances. The latest development involves figures associated with the People's Democratic Party, as well as the Ekiti State Governor Abiodun Oyebamiji, who has continued to mobilize support for the President Bola Tinubu's re-election bid. Oyebamiji has previously rallied APC stakeholders and supporters in Ekiti State behind the president, while other political figures are also holding consultations across party lines. The emerging alliances are being closely watched because they could have implications for the strength of both the ruling party and the opposition as preparation for the next general election intensify. The developments also come at a time when opposition politicians are working to build a stronger platform capable of challenging the APC in 2027, with consultations, defections, and political negotiations increasing across the country. The coming months are expected to reveal more about the alliances and candidates that will shape the next presidential contest. I am Muhammad Musa for Skyline News.
A former Vice President Atiku Abubakar says he will not contest the presidency again after the 2027 election. His declaration comes as opposition politicians intensify consultations over possible alliances, candidates, and the political platform that could challenge the ruling All Progressives Congress. Our correspondent Oiza Daneka again brings us more.
Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has clarified his long-term political plans as preparation for the 2027 presidential elections continue. Atiku, who has contested the presidency several times, says he does not intend to seek the nation's highest political office again after the 2027 election, a position that could influence discussions about the future direction of the opposition. His declaration comes at a critical period for Nigeria's opposition, with political parties and the prominent figures engaged in consultation over possible alliances, presidential candidates, and the platform that could challenge the ruling All Progressive Congress. Atiku remains an influential figure within opposition politics and has been involved in efforts to bring together politicians opposed to the APC. The former vice president's decision could also affect the calculation of other potential presidential aspirants. Attention is now expected to shift towards who could emerge as the opposition's strongest candidate for future elections, while Atiku's experience and political network could still play an important role in shaping the country's political landscape. Dan Eka Oiza for Skyline News.
The camp of Osun State Governor Ademola Adeleke has dismissed reports that the governor plans to defect to the All Progressives Congress APC. The clarification comes following Adeleke's recent meeting with President Bola Tinubu and other high-profile political engagements in Abuja after his victory in the Osun governorship election. Again, Oiza Daneka has details.
The governor's camp has rejected speculation that Ademola Adeleke could abandon his current political platform and join the ruling All Progressive Congress. The rumors gained attention following Adeleke's meeting with President Bola Tinubu in Abuja and his subsequent political engagements with prominent figures, including FCT Minister Nyesom Wike. Adeleke's visit to the presidential villa was primarily to present his certificate of return after winning the Osun governorship election. However, the high-profile meeting and the political conversations that followed triggered speculation about whether the governor could be considering a new political direction ahead of the 2027 elections. His camp has now moved to dismiss the reports, insisting that the governor remains committed to his political platform. The development comes against the backdrop of growing political realignment across Nigeria, with politicians reviewing alliances and exploring new platforms ahead of 2027. The issue is likely to remain a subject of political discussion as the next election cycles draw closer. Dan Eka Oiza for Skyline News.
The 2026 State House Summit on Women's Economic Inclusion is taking place in Abuja, bringing together government, development, and private sector stakeholders. The summit is focused on improving women's participation in Nigeria's economy and expanding opportunities for women-owned businesses. Organizers say stronger economic inclusion can help unlock productivity, create jobs, as well as improve household welfare. And now to security matters. The Presidential Working Group on the National Policing Bill says it remains on course to deliver its proposed reforms. The group has been consulting stakeholders as part of efforts to improve policing and strengthen public security. The development is part of wider government efforts to reform Nigeria's policing architecture. Nigerians consumed about 6.98 million terabytes of data in the first 5 months of 2026. The figures reflect increasing dependence on digital platforms for banking, entertainment, communication, business, and other daily activities. The continued growth in data consumption is also placing greater attention on the country's telecommunications infrastructure and digital economy. The presidency has reaffirmed Nigeria's readiness to host the Global Alliance World Public Relations Forum in Abuja later this year. The conference is scheduled for November 15 to 21, 2026, with the federal government expected to work with the Federal Ministry of Information and National Orientation, as well as the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations. Officials say the event will further showcase Abuja and Nigeria as a destination for major international conferences. Let's go on a quick break, everyone. When we return, so many more stories right up ahead. Please don't go away. Thank you so very much for staying with us. Let's deep further into the security issues. The troops under Operation Fasanyama have rescued 10 civilians in separate operations across Sokoto, Kebbi, and Zamfara states. The operations are part of an intensified military offensive against terrorists and bandit networks in the northwest. The military says operations will continue to disrupt criminal groups and protect vulnerable communities. Meanwhile, Inspector General of Police Olatunji Disu has called for a coordinated regional response to insecurity across the Northwest. He stressed the need for stronger cooperation among security agencies and governments in the region. The police boss said closer coordination will strengthen the fight against kidnapping, banditry, and other violent crimes. Nasarawa State Police Command has launched a national campaign against political and digital thuggery. The initiative targets the use of social media to spread incitements as well as politically motivated violence. Police authorities now say the campaign is aimed at protecting democratic activities and maintaining public order. The Nigerian Army is seeking stronger cooperation with media organizations in the Northwest. The military says responsible reporting can help improve public understanding of security operations and counter misinformation. The initiative is also expected to strengthen communication between security agencies and communities. The National Center for the Control of Small Arms and Light Weapons is seeking stronger collaboration with the Nigeria Customs Service. The objective is to improve efforts to prevent illegal arms from entering the country. Officials say better border control is critical to reducing the supply of weapons to criminal groups. The death toll from a boat mishap in Sokoto State has risen, with reports putting the number of fatalities at more than 50. The victims were reportedly traveling by boat when the vessel capsized. The tragedy has renewed concerns over safety standards and the need for improved monitoring of waterways. We turn to Gombe State now, where the government says it has approved more than 534 million naira for interventions in education and commercial development. The funds are expected to support projects designed to improve opportunities for residents. Government says the interventions are part of its broader development program. Meanwhile, State Governor Muhammadu Yahaya has approved the reconstitution of the State Committee on the Preservation of Museums and Monuments. It says that Emir will chair the committee as the state seeks to strengthen protection of its cultural heritage. The initiative is expected to promote preservation of historical sites and traditional heritage. Oyo State government has launched an HIV survey designed to improve data collection and strengthen prevention strategies. Officials say accurate data will help the state better understand trends and improve interventions. The government reaffirmed its commitment to evidence-based public health planning. The national chairman of the APC, Nenwata Iwada, has apologized to aggrieved party members in Oyo State. The move, the party says, is aimed at addressing internal disagreements and improving cohesion within the APC. The reconciliation efforts come as political parties strengthen their structures ahead of next year's election. We're taking a break. When we return, we will bring you business, entertainment, sports, and foreign stories. Thank you for staying with us, everyone. Nigeria's total merchandise exports rose to $15.5 billion in the first quarter of this year. Petroleum products accounted for a major part of the increase, while crude oil exports declined slightly compared with the previous year. The figures point to a changing structure in Nigeria's petroleum exports as domestic refining expands. The Nigerian Economic Summit Group, NESG, says it is projecting that the country's external reserves could reach $53 billion by the end of the current year. The projection is linked largely to stronger oil production and improved foreign exchange earnings. Higher reserves would provide greater protection against external economic shocks and support currency stability. Nigeria's oil industry is seeking a new investment cycle after a significant decline in capital inflows into the sector. Industry stakeholders say investment, technical skills, and infrastructure remain important obstacles to higher productions. The government and operators are under pressure to attract fresh capital as well as maximize the country's petroleum resources. Nigeria's property market has been estimated at about $2.6 trillion, making it one of Africa's largest real estate markets. The sector is attracting investor interest despite challenges linked to financing, infrastructure, and affordability. Industry stakeholders say improved policies could unlock more investment and housing development. Nigeria's financial services sector is increasingly moving toward domestic cloud infrastructure ahead of the January 2027 data residency requirements. Technology companies and financial institutions are preparing for changes in how sensitive financial data is stored and managed. The transition is expected to increase demand for local data centers and cloud services. Let's move the news broadcast now beyond the shores of Nigeria. The United States says it will impose what it has described as the toughest sanctions in history on Iran. Washington is seeking cooperation from China, while Tehran has condemned the planned measures. The latest development adds to tensions between the two countries and could have wider consequences for global energy markets. In the meantime, the United States has allocated more than $206 million to support a proposed international stabilization force for Gaza. The funding is intended to cover infrastructure, equipment, and operations as part of President Donald Trump's Gaza Peace Initiative. However, major disagreements between Israel and Hamas continue to delay implementation of the wider plan. Fresh Russian strikes have killed at least 17 people in Kyiv and surrounding areas, and that's according to Ukrainian authorities. More than 40 people were also reported injured in the attacks. The latest strikes have renewed calls for stronger air defense support for Ukraine. Poland has expressed disappointment after Israel dropped an investigation into the killing of a Polish citizen. The development has created fresh diplomatic tension between Warsaw and Jerusalem. Polish authorities say they expect greater accountability over the circumstances surrounding the death. And now we go to Asia, where China and Indonesia are strengthening their political security and economic cooperation. The two countries are seeking to deepen relations as Indonesia balances ties with major global powers. The development is another sign of shifting strategic and economic partnerships in Asia. We're going a quick break. When we return, entertainment and sports are right up ahead.
Watch Skyline News on MyComSat and Free TV. Stay connected wherever you are by streaming us live on the Free TV app, available for both iOS and Android devices via the App Store and Google Play. Follow us on all our social media platforms at Skyline TV News for breaking news, updates, and exclusive content. For more information, visit www.skylinetv.ng. Skyline News, beyond the headlines.
You can watch Skyline News on MyComSat and Free TV. Stay connected wherever you are by streaming us live on the Free TV app, available for both iOS and Android devices via the App Store and Google Play. Follow us on all our social media platforms at Skyline TV News for breaking news, updates, and exclusive content. For more information, visit www.skylinetv.ng. Skyline News, beyond the headlines.
Watch Skyline News on MyComSat and Free TV. Stay connected wherever you are by streaming us live on the Free TV app, available for both iOS and Android devices via the App Store and Google Play. Follow us on all our social media platforms at Skyline TV News for breaking news, updates, and exclusive content. For more information, visit www.skylinetv.ng.
Thank you so very much, everyone, for staying with us. And now to sports. The National Sports Commission and the Nigeria Football Federation are facing renewed scrutiny over the state of Nigerian football, with lawmakers demanding greater accountability from the country's football administrators. The development comes amid concerns over the performance of the national teams and the overall direction of football developments in Nigeria. Mohammed Musa has more.
The tournament, organized in collaboration with the Nigeria Football Federation, is designed to give clubs meaningful competitive action before the new campaign begins. Rather than relying solely on training sessions and friendly matches, teams will have the opportunity to test their strength against quality opposition in a competitive environment. The tournament is particularly important for Nigeria clubs preparing for CAF competitions, as coaches can assess new signings, test tactical formation, and improve the fitness and understanding of their players. It also gives technical crews the opportunity to identify weaknesses and make adjustments before the season officially gets underway. For young and emerging players, the tournament provides an important platform to impress coaches and compete for places in their respective squads. The organizers are also hoping the competition will contribute to improving the standard of domestic football and help Nigeria clubs become more competitive both at home and on the continental stage. Dan Eika Oizer for Skyline News.
Let's turn to entertainment now. Afrobeat star Davido is back in the entertainment headlines following a public exchange with FCT Minister Yenston Wike. The banter followed the outcome of the Osun governorship election, in which Davido's uncle Ademola Adeleke secured re-election. The singer's involvement in Osun politics has continued to attract significant attention online. And that's all we have on news time here on Skyline News in Abuja, Nigeria's capital. A quick reminder that we will urge you to follow us across all social media platforms as you engage and subscribe. On behalf of my colleagues here in Abuja, Nigeria's capital, who have made this news broadcast possible, I'm Mofwegbe, wishing you a big weekend ahead.